Welcome, 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 parents, to Back to School Night 2020, 2021. It is a virtual one, and although I will be doing a live in person virtual session, I did still want to record a video for anyone who might not be available to attend Back to School Night at the time frame that it was held, as well as just to recap and review and go into more depth some of the things that were covered in the presentation. Okay, so this presentation is a little different than what will be shared with parents in the actual presentation. The actual presentation will be a Pear Deck, which is a bit more of an interactive thing. I'm definitely not a, sit and get type of teacher, meaning I want students to be active in the process. And for me as a learner, the same thing. So I apologize for those of you just watching the video. It is going to be just more of sit and get information. Okay, so I am moving on too quickly there. Okay. I am Zainabu Kante. I am the grade 6 mathematics seminar instructor, as well as the grade 6 mathematics teacher, or one of the mathematics teachers for grade 6, as well as one of the social studies teachers. My email is there, zkante@tnexschools.org, for any questions, comments, concerns. Tonight's agenda, pretty tight. We are going to be working in like a 12-minute time frame. So I wanted to make sure I covered as much as possible, but also made it interactive so you got a chance to kind of see what it would be like. But again, this presentation is available in Google Classroom video format. And I think I'm going to try to kind of activate again my YouTube channel. It's been a little dormant for some years, and place it there as well. Okay, so because I want you to experience what your child does, and I also want you to get to know me a little bit, I thought it might be appropriate that you answer this question. Okay, and the question is based off an activity I do with students called Three Truths and a Lie. So, in one of these four statements, something is not true. Can you circle or highlight the thing that you think is not true about me? And for those of you just watching it virtually, obviously, in this case, we're going to just ask you to tell me, or in your own frame, what you think is not true. All right. And if you guessed that number 3 is not true, that is not true. I did not grow up in Teaneck, although I do currently live here. I've been here since 1998. I attended Fairleigh Dickinson University, and I played basketball, ran track there, and decided that, you know what, I wanted to make this place my home. I was fortunate enough to do student teaching right at Whittier School after finishing my master's program at Fairleigh, and I've been here since, and I love it. All right. So just a little bit more about me. And again, I was kind of conflicted whether I should include this in the slide because, of course, our time is minimal. But, relationship building is at the heart of what we do. And because of that, being vulnerable and also being transparent, I think is important, and getting to know me a little bit. So, yes, I am an educator, but first and foremost, I am a learner and lover of knowledge. I am an African woman, and I use the pronouns of she, her. And I also am very confident, and that confidence comes from having had so many teachers, mentors, coaches that supported me, that believed in me, even when I think I wasn't always making the best of decisions as a youngster, like we all do. There were people always rallying around me, and that's that kind of pay it forward for me. In addition to that, I love working out, entertaining, hosting parties. You won't see me running around the streets of Teaneck. No, I don't run in the streets, but I definitely have seen some of you, I'm sure, at the gym. And again, being a former athlete, both collegiately and the high school level, even now, just fitness is a part of my lifestyle. Little immature, I like to laugh at everything. And the students will see that I crack jokes and, have different voices, and I'm very dramatic. And yeah, my secret superpower is entertainer extraordinaire, or at least my friends think so. And lastly, I'm learning how to have a bit more balance. I think all of us are, as well as slow down. Listen, I create a lot of the resources and the materials I use for students. It takes a lot of time. It's not a complaint, just a statement. But in that, so I need an editor. But I wish I could hire an editor, someone who could go through and make sure I don't have typos or errors and things, but that's not the reality. So again, I apologize in advance if there's a mistake or something that you see in a document. Please does not offend me. I'm going to make mistakes. So for as great as I think a lesson might be, a resource or something I've created, you might think of something differently, and I'm welcome and open to that. And yeah, one of my secret special places is Gasco Farms down in Monroe Township. I've been doing, well, this summer was doing a lot of gardening with that. So that's a little bit about me. I want to again thank you. Um, this work is a calling for me. It has been what I feel like is my life's purpose. It is a passion of mine. Yes, in my free time, I'm that teacher that looks for or makes and creates things for students because I feel like all students should have an extraordinary, exceptional teacher. And, when I was awarded Benjamin Franklin Middle School's first ever Teacher of the Year award, I know I sounds like I'm like giving you my whole resume and cover letter. The first thing I said was, I work with such wonderful people. We do, but more importantly, we have an amazing community and parents who have entrusted us with their children. And so it's that type of commitment that and pressure I almost put on myself. And I also know how transformative education can be. And, there's a picture of my dad there because he actually grew up in a village in West Africa in Sierra Leone where the illiteracy rate is 80%. So 80% of people do not read or write. But because someone saw promise in him and paid for his school fees because he was an orphan, he was able to transform his life. And where he served as a diplomat and ambassador to the United States for Sierra Leone and had a lot of opportunities because of access to education. Um, I personally take this work very, very seriously. And like I said before, it's a calling for me. And I just want you to know I am going to do everything I possibly can and work extraordinarily hard so that your child has equity and opportunity in terms of education. All right. So moving on. In the Pear Deck activity, what would happen is people would drag the flag icon to where they've traveled to or where they would like to travel to or somewhere they have a special connection and we'd be able to see the different flags all over where we have these different countries. But moving on from that. And then also in the live presentation, I would ask parents to just list how long they've been in Teaneck and what's something that they appreciate or value about living there. All right, now getting into the curriculum a bit. These are units of study. Again, I'm not going to necessarily read them out to you. What, again, in the presentation that I will do live for parents is ask them the question of which topic do you think your child might be least familiar with, have the least experience, might not have, you know, been exposed to necessarily, or themselves if they're not sure exactly, like, what do you really don't remember about what about math in your brain is like the furthest back. Integers, rational numbers, similarity, probably thinking, what is that? Percent, ratios, rates, proportions, linear relationships. And so those are the topics we cover. And again, because it is done in a sequence of these first two topics are the sixth grade topics, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 are seventh grade topics that will be covered towards the latter part of the first marking period and on through the end of the year. We are moving at a pace where I think students are comfortable, but also where we need to cover a year's worth and then some of curriculum. For those of you who have your child has me for Math 6 General Math, these are the topics that are in the Go Math book. All of them should have received a version of this book. That's the New Jersey Go Math book that goes through 7 different units broken down into 15 different modules. And again, in the live presentation, I would ask parents which topic do you think your child might need the most support in? And again, sorry, just choosing one. This app gives me information right away, instantaneously, and then I'm able to in turn save that information. And even if I wanted to, post a report to students, I'm not going to do that, but just that way that when your child does a Pear Deck, they're able to see their own responses and it doesn't just vanish into thin air. I'm able to see how they're responding or what they're responding to. This is one of the reasons why I use it so frequently. And then again, if your child has me for social studies, here are the topics we cover in social studies. A big emphasis and a lot of time is spent on the continent. We know that our existence began on the continent. And so National Geographic, who I'm affiliated with, I happen to serve as one of their teachers on their advisory council. They say this, they say our species is an African one. And so understanding history and culture is where we start and begin. We go into early humans and their migration from the continent and the agricultural revolution. We study ancient African civilizations, focusing on Ghana, Songhai, Mali, Aksum, and Great Zimbabwe. We then cross the continent over to the east and spend time in ancient Egypt and Kush. We also cover culturally responsive and relevant topics, and I embed ties to heritage and cultural contributions of marginalized groups, not just doing celebratory months, but really understanding that history is not this linear timeline. Things didn't just happen and then something else happened. Things were happening throughout similar time frames, and then also keeping to current events is a bit of the work that will occur in social studies. So I want to get into a little bit more detail about some of these applications that I won't do during the presentation for back to school night. And I'll do that at the very, very end, or I'm contemplating, if this video is running a little long, to make a separate video for that, which I actually might, just like on the whim. But we do use the platform of Google Classroom. Accessing Google Classroom for your child means that they need to use Chrome, preferably. And then, of course, they would, have their classroom codes already logged in, and they join our meetings and things like that. And so I think I'm going to make a separate video for accessing Google Classroom, the Google Meetings, and all of these apps, but things like MobyMax, the Connected Ed, which is our online social studies textbook, Edpuzzle, which is an application that allows me to show or have students view videos and embed questions within the video. So they're kind of required to stop and answer questions throughout Edulastic, which gives me an opportunity to give them formative assessments that are interactive. And again, I get the data right away. Kahoot and quizzes, fun ways to review content. And of course, Pear Deck, my absolute favorite application that I use to both present new information and assess information. Now would be the time for questions, thoughts, and comments. And then just being sure that you invite yourself or accept the invitation your child might have already put down to be a guardian in our classroom courses. Okay. And again, thank you for your time, your support, and your patience in this virtual space. My grading scales are also, again, in Google Classroom in one of those first week resources. Homework sometimes is put in Skyward as an individual assignment, sometimes as a weekly grade. Participation in this virtual space will be a weekly grade. It normally is in the physical space as well, based off of attendance and compliance in attendance meetings and Google Meetings, meaning cameras are on. For my courses, I do require cameras on. Even when you're doing independent work, it's just easier for me to check into your task work and say, oh, looking for a second so-and-so, I need to, and as well as their contributions. And what you can do to support. I mean, of course, checking Google Classroom notifications, looking at Skyward. Please be patient though. My priority is always student resources. Getting things from a physical paper pencil space or even the book, for example, into a digital document is time consuming. I'm enjoying doing it. However, it's making me prioritize that, which is getting students resources and work, as opposed to, inputting grades as consistently as I would. Please let your students struggle a bit. One of my favorite sayings is get on that struggle bus and ride it. The idea of I need help with there's certain words that we do not say in our classroom. We do know about this triangle of, the child, the teacher, the educator, and the parent kind of working together so that each leg or side is balanced and structured and stable. But they've got to do their part. And of course, we will do our own part. And again, I'll put this video is obviously available for you to view now. So you're seeing it and you're watching it. And hope that some of you who did attend back to school night got a little bit more insight from this video. But I will be posting another video on the specifics of Google Classroom and how to access Google Classroom and things. All right. Thank you.